Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to your astrological forecast for next week, which of course is going to be predominantly focused on the full moon in Taurus, which we are expecting to experience on Friday, the 15th, November 15th. And funnily enough, shortly before that, we will be experiencing Saturn station in direct. So this is all what we're going to be covering. So first, I'm going to name all the transits. Actually, first, I'm going to say that I'm going to divide this video into two parts. So this is the astrology part, where we going to talk about chart, about the astrological jargon and all the rest of it. And then I'm going to record a separate video where I'm going to pull a cards with regards to this lunation. So if you're curious to hear the messages from the cards, that will be in the other video. Otherwise, these videos are getting far too long and nobody has so much time to watch me and listen to me. So I am respecting everybody's time. So this is the plan of action. And as always, I would like to open this space and call in on my higher self, my spirit guides, ancestor team, all the beings of light that wish to be present, especially my astrological team, and also Akashic record keepers, if there are any messages that we are allowed to tap into at this time. So thank you everyone for being here, and thank you everyone who is here listening. So let's just dive in. So first I'm going to name these few things that's going on this week. There is not overly crazy amount of stuff. So I'm recording this on Sunday. This is going to be published straight away because, as I mentioned in my practical application of astrology, I am still recovering. So my energy is still fluctuating. So I'm recording things when I can and then putting them out there as soon as I can. So Moon is already in a sign of Pisces, and we are going to end this week and enter a new one with Moon in the sign of Pisces, which of course is all about culmination. It's all about ending of the cycle and understanding the meaning of the cycle, like what actually happened, why, and opportunity to learn from it and integrate the lessons, and whatever it is that no longer serve us, release it. Because of course, yesterday we experienced the closing square between Venus as the ruler of the South Node and Neptune as the upcoming ruler of the North Node. So anyway, tomorrow, Monday, 11/11 portal, very special day. I am going to try to record something, but let's see how the energy goes. Tomorrow, Venus is moving to the sign of Capricorn, where, of course, she, as the ruler of the upcoming full moon, will be during this lunation. And Venus will remain in the sign of Capricorn until December 7th. So that's right bang in the middle between the new moon in Sagittarius and full moon in Gemini. So that's when Venus will move into the sign of Aquarius, and we know she's going to have yet another conjunction with Pluto and all the rest of it, but that's for another conversation. So Venus moving to the sign of Capricorn on 11/11 portal, where she will become the boss lady. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have Moon moving into a sign of Aries. So this is a reset of our inner world. The cycle is resetting, new cycle is beginning. And on the same day, we'll be experiencing the first of the three squares between Mercury and Saturn. Of course, this is all going to be fully active for the lunation. So Mercury squaring Saturn, this is also a closing square. Currently, Saturn is retrograde at this time on the 12th, which is Tuesday. And the second square will be taking place on December 6th when Mercury is retrograde, and the third and final one on December 27th when both of them will be direct. So Mercury being in a sign of Sagittarius, squaring Saturn in the sign of Pisces, this is helping us once again to release whatever we identified as the belief system connected to the past that are no longer serving us, that no longer hold a meaning and potentially keeps us feel stuck and victimized in the past. Okay, so then Wednesday, there's not much going. I mean, obviously, Moon is always busy. Moon is trining Mercury, sextile in Jupiter, conjuncting Chiron, all the rest of it, but no major aspects. Thursday, the 14th, Moon will be entering into the sign of Taurus in preparation for the full moon. And then Friday, the 15th, as I already mentioned, prior to the full moon becoming exact, Saturn will station direct on 12 degrees and 42 minutes of Pisces, which of course is a Cancerian decan, all about creating the structure of who we are, the new identity, the new landscape. And this is the end of the retrograde, which began on June 29th, which was right after the first full moon in Capricorn, because we know we experienced two of them this summer. So June 29th, Saturn stationed retrograde on 19 degrees 26 minutes. So Saturn didn't get very far. It's, as I mentioned, 12 degrees, right? Saturn is stationing direct on 12 degrees 42 minutes. Yes. So that's it. You know, the rule of the Pluto currently is going direct, and actually Saturn has been retrograde for majority of Pluto being in the sign of Capricorn for this final time. So this is again taking us inwards to reevaluate who is the creator of this reality and what needs to change in order for us to create different reality if this is not the one that holds a meaning and we wish to be experiencing going forward. So Saturn stations direct, and yes, a few hours later after that we'll be experiencing the full moon in Taurus, which we'll dive into deeply in a moment. And then on Saturday the 16th, Moon will move into the sign of Gemini, which of course is all about the choice and potential to change perspective, because we also have this opposition between Mercury and Jupiter already active. And also on the same day, on Saturday the 16th, Venus will make an exact square to the lunar nodes, resolution node being South node, currently still ruled by Venus. So we'll talk about that too. And then Saturday night, Sunday morning, for me here in Mexico, it will be still Saturday night. Sun will make an exact opposition to Uranus. We know Uranus is very active for this lunation, is conjuncting the moon, but the exact opposition between Sun and Uranus, it's happening on Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending where you are in the world, 25 degrees, 14 minutes between Scorpio and Taurus. And then we'll be entering into a new week with Moon still in the sign of Gemini, but Moon is moving into the sign of Cancer on Monday, early hours of Monday morning. And this is also Monday will be the day when we'll be experiencing the first of the three oppositions between Mercury and Jupiter, who at the moment have mutual reception, because of course Mercury is the rule of Gemini, where Jupiter resides at the moment, and Jupiter is the rule of Sagittarius, where Mercury is residing at the moment. And as I already mentioned, they are going to have three oppositions. Currently, Jupiter is retrograde. Second time they oppose each other on December 4th. They will be both retrograde. And the final time on December 3rd, Mercury will be direct, but Jupiter will be still retrograde. So let's see what all these oppositions are going to bring out for us. So let's just share the charts and dive into the visual, so we can see what's going on here. All right, so I hope people can see this now. All right, guys, so this is the current full moon in Taurus, right? November 15th. However, as we know, full moon is the midpoint, is the illumination of something that got seeded with the new moon. So let's just have a very quick look at the new moon in Taurus, which we experienced. Well, for me, I was at the time actually already in Europe. So for me, it would have been on May 8th, but currently I'm in Mexico. So I put this to Mexico time, and that was May 7th. So the new moon in Taurus happened between May 7th and 8th, depending where you were in the world at that time. However, what we're paying attention to is that majority of things were obviously placed in Aries and Taurus at the time. Mars was in a new phase conjunction with both Saturn and Neptune already in Aries, which is the sign of his rulership on Aries decan, closing to the North Node. They were in a closing phase conjunction because the conjunction happened on May 19th. We can see, of course, Jupiter just had his conjunction with Uranus, so there was a new story. At this time, new moon in Taurus in May, we had both Uranus and Jupiter in a new phase to the moon, The moon was on, this is a Virgo decan, so this is talking about adjustment. So being Uranus and Jupiter just had a conjunction and started this creation of this new story, which we're developing at the moment, especially Jupiter being retrograde in Gemini. It's making us to reevaluate all the way that we've identified the reality and the belief system that brought us to creating this reality until this point. So that's all going through reevaluation at the moment. But at the time of the new moon, when all this got seeded, we were being hinted that there is something that had to be adjusted. Both Uranus, Jupiter were already on Capricorn decan, which is all about the structure of reality. This is with Saturn before Saturn station retrograde that took place the following month. And also we can see Chiron and Mercury just had their third and final conjunction the day before. We can see they're still on the same degree, only the day before, which is all about this new way of thinking. We are are looking at these multiple timelines that are happening simultaneously and taking into consideration this Mercury square to Saturn and Mercury opposition to Jupiter, with whom they have a mutual reception. And Jupiter and Uranus both at the time were ruled by Venus, and Venus was in Taurus, in the sign of her rulership, as the ruler of everything, the ruler of the new moon, the ruler of Uranus, the ruler of Jupiter. And Venus was already on the Virgo decan, which is again about these adjustments. We were going to learn stuff in this 6 months in between, right? Well, not even 6 months, 5 months, between May and now, we were going to learn things that were going to teach us about ourselves, about Taurus, about your needs, your values, your sense of self, your self-love, your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-trust, like whether you believe you can create a reality that you wish to experience or not. And these stories, all these stories that we are attached to, that keep recreating certain patterns which we might not be in resonance with. And we can see, of course, Mercury being in the sign of Aries, being ruled by Mars. This is actually the only conjunction between Mercury and Chiron that happened with Mars in his rulership, because the previous two happened when Mars was in Pisces and prior to that in Aquarius. And Mars is the ruler of the North Node, and this was the closing phase between Mars and North Node. So something was culminating. What was culminating? What was culminating was this old way of looking at ourselves, this old story that we are attached to with regards to ourselves and the limitations that we put onto ourselves. We can also see Pluto was technically still trining Uranus, and because there is all this conjunction going on, because of the stellium conjunction, Pluto was trining the moon, even though it is a white orb, but because Pluto is trining Uranus, and Uranus is conjuncting Jupiter and the moon, Pluto was affecting the moon. And this is a trine. This is trine that is indicating, well, with regards to the new moon, this is a closing trine, but with regards to the Uranus and Jupiter, this is the Leo trine. So either way, there is an opportunity for change. Well, change not under pressure, which is the square, but change with regards to, we are ready for this. We are ready for this adjustment to take place because it's necessary. Pluto is already retrograde here. Pluto station retrograde a few days before this. Pluto is already retrograde, which is saying that we need to again go within and reevaluate what this freedom, liberation, individuation, and this path forward looks like for each of us. And that's going to depend on your needs, your values, who you are, how do you perceive reality, your belief systems, all the rest of it. And also, it's not picking up here because of the, orbs, but Pluto is squaring Venus, and this is a first quarter square. This is a first quarter square, which is talking about the crisis in action. What needs to change? Venus is on Virgo decan of Taurus. Our relationship towards ourselves has to change, okay? And then when we look at the next new moon in Taurus, which will be in 2025, of course, 27th of April, day after my birthday, 2025, we can see everything is actually between Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. So here, Neptune is already on 0 degrees of Aries at the time, if we go into the future now, the new ruler of the North Node. And we can see that Saturn is Saturn just conjuncted. I looked it up. I think it was like a few days before. It was on the 10th or 11th or something. Anyway, either way, Saturn just conjuncted the North Node. So Saturn is in the new phase conjunction with North Node. Venus is in the new phase conjunction to Saturn, calls into Neptune. This is Venus as the ruler of the moon, obviously. And once again, Uranus is a new phase. But Venus is now in Pisces. At the time of this moon, Venus was in Taurus on Virgo decan, which was saying about, we need to adjust things, Virgo, which is about the human journey, hero's journey. Here, Venus is in Pisces, and this is Scorpio decan, right? Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Scorpio decan. So this is about self-empowerment. We are releasing this past, North Node in Pisces, and we are stepping into our self-empowerment. We're creating a new direction with regards to this new meaning, that something that we're seeking, like on a soul level, a deeper meaning and different way of experiencing this reality. And this Uranus in a new phase is helping us. It's saying like, it involves this complete restructuring of who we are and our relationship to ourselves. Jupiter is here direct already, and it's in, still obviously in a new phase. well, it's too far from Pluto for it to be a trine, but we can see interesting thing, you know, this Mars Pluto opposition, actually the exact opposition between Mars and Pluto, the final one, is happening the day before on April 26th. And I know that for a fact because it's happening on my birthday. So this is the final exact opposition that just took place a day before, which is all about this balancing. So anyway, so why are we even talking about this? Because the cycle began here in April 2023, and the cycle, this particular cycle, I mean, everything is cycles within cycles within cycles, the cycle will reset here. So Venus being in a sign of Pisces on Scorpio Decan, with Pluto making an exact opposition to Mars, the modern and traditional ruler of Scorpio. And we have Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, which is the shadow of humanity, something we don't want to look at, you know. And actually Lilith is making an exact opposition to the moon, you know. So this is something we balance in. What we balance in, and it's 11:11 right now, what we balance in is this connection from ourselves. So okay, so this is obviously in a future. We don't want to worry about it too much. We can see actually, yeah, the most important thing that I didn't mention, that the moon is making a T-square to this opposition between Mars and Pluto. But anyway, let's go back to the present moment. So this is what we're going to dive deeply into, which is the full moon, which is the illumination. How are we getting from where we started in May to where we're going in April 27, 2025? Like, how are we going to get there? And what we've got going on here, oh, yeah, moon is closing to Uranus here, and Uranus is retrograde, which is taking us within, right? Any retrograde planet is on an accelerated path of evolution because it's taking you inwards, and the change is always happening from inside out. So it's making us to reevaluate. This is all happening on Capricornian Decan, and guess what? Venus is in Capricorn. We already mentioned that Venus is entering Capricorn on 11:11 portal. So Venus being in a sign of Capricorn, on Capricorn Decan, this is the path to self-mastery. Venus is squaring the lunar nodes, pointing to the south node. She is the ruler of. Venus already made the second conjunction to south node in September, right after the new moon in Virgo. Virgo, again, human's journey, hero's journey, the adjustments, the learning, the growth, right? Because you know, like in order to get to Capricorn, we need to go through Virgo, which is all this stuff that we learning and adjusting. We try and we fail and we try again, and then we learn and we do it better or we do it different, whatever. You know, it's not about judgment. It's about the experience, the spirit, your higher self, your spirit guide. They don't go judging like, oh yeah, you failed again, you know, like, oh my God, what a loser, right? No, this is all about experience. It's about, okay, well, we give it the best shot, you know, but of course, once we poured into the human body with all these memories and all these emotions and all this suppressed trauma and everything else that we poured into, and then obviously we build up on it through our own experience in this lifetime, it is not so easy, right? It is not so easy. It sounds much easier from, you know, the non-physical realm, where it's like, oh yeah, let's do this and this and this and learn this and this and grow through this and this and this. And then once we are in this human form, we go like, what was I thinking, right? So anyway, so what we've got going on here, once again, we've got Uranus making an like technically exact conjunction. We have 1 degree different, right? Uranus is conjuncting the moon. Moon is closing to Uranus, which is saying something is ending, you know, something is ending. Well, yeah, no kidding, you know, Saturn, Neptune in Pisces, of course, something is ending. And we know next time we're going to have the new moon in Taurus, Neptune is already in the sign of Aries, you know. Yes, we're going to have the retrograde back into Pisces next year, but, you know, it's already dipping its toes in there. Also Saturn will be, and also Uranus into Gemini. So anyway, Venus is the ruler of this moon, squaring the lunar nodes, pointing to the south node, ruled by Venus. Venus being in the sign of Capricorn, on Capricorn Decan, saying we need to take responsibility. This is all about self-mastery. This is all about healing. Also, we have this Saturn, you know, making the square. There is a T-square, actually. Saturn is making a square to both Jupiter and Mercury, and we have 3 times square, you know, 3 times square between Mercury and Saturn, 3 times square between Jupiter and Saturn. The first square between Saturn and Jupiter actually happened on a full moon in Aquarius, which we experienced on August 19th. The second square, I believe, is on a Boxing Day. Let me just check my notes. Second square will be on a Christmas Eve. It's going to be happening on December 24th. And the third and the final square between Saturn and Jupiter will be happening on June 15th, 2025, when Saturn will be already in the sign of Aries. Also, there will be 3 squares between Jupiter and Neptune, But at the moment, Jupiter is technically it is already squaring Neptune. Yes, it is already squaring Neptune. And also the third and the final square between Jupiter and Neptune will be when they are in the new signs. And yeah, the Saturn Mercury, we already experienced in the first one, but the second one will be on December 6th and then December 27th. So we have all these triple aspects. We have the triple square between Saturn and Jupiter, Jupiter and Neptune, Saturn and Mercury, and then we also have a triple opposition between Jupiter and Mercury, which I already mentioned, which is all about this mutual reception, about the perception of reality and the stories and how we identify it, and based on how I look at certain situations that's going on in my life, and I attach the same identification onto it, the same label, I keep recreating the same story. And the next time these things comes around, for me to have the opportunity to see like, oh, do I enjoy creating this story? Is this something I still value, Taurus? Or do I want to experience something different? So I have the opportunity to identify this situation differently, to look at it differently because of everything I've gone through in a meanwhile. But do I do that or not? That is a choice. That is the Gemini. That is the free will. That is the choice, that the lovers in a tarot card, right? So we have this triple opposition. So this is something that we will be building up on. We're going to be evolving because Mercury is already in his shadow. It's preparing for his retrograde, which will begin at the end of November 25th, 6th, something like that. Jupiter is going to be retrograde for, I think, till February, right? For another while. So anyway, so we have this triple opposition between Mercury and Jupiter going on as well. This is obviously the first one because the exact one is happening on Monday, as I already mentioned, after this moon. And then we also have triple trine between Mercury. Again, Mercury, there's a lot of Mercury going on here. Mercury and Chiron. Where is Chiron? Chiron here. Chiron, yes. Mercury 16 degrees, Chiron 19 degrees. The exact is happening on November 19th, so 4 days later. And then the second one, December 2nd, and then December 31st, which is interesting because December 2nd is right after, well, depending where you are in the world, is the new moon in Sagittarius. And December 31st, again, depending where you are in the world, is the new moon in Capricorn. That's the one we're going to close the year with, for people on this side of the world. This is happening a day before the December 1st or December 30th. For people, in Europe and further, December 2nd, December 31st. But it's interesting that it's happening simultaneously with these lunations, right? These lunations, like now we have this full moon, then it's going to be the two new moons, new moon in Sagittarius, new moon in Capricorn. And we know that our belief systems are strongly connected to the reality we are experiencing, because whatever you believe, you manifest. So there is a triple trine. So again, we are in a place, just like we had during the new moon in Taurus. Let me show you again. We had this was right after the final conjunction between Mercury and Chiron. Chiron and Mercury have a love affair this year. We also had the free trines when Mercury was retrograde in Leo. So this is again telling us, and this is all fire signs, which is all about this creation, all about this passion and inspiration. And of course, Chiron being in a sign of Aries, there is this desire, it's like this fool's card in a tarot, and a magician, like desire to go and explore and create and experience something different, something new. But there is the wounding, right? There is the wounding that is, especially with Mars being a sign of Leo opposing Pluto, the wounding that got in many cases created in our childhood, this Leo, where the innocence was lost, when the innocence was stolen away from us due to multiple factors. Obviously, the factor of where were you born, what kind of family were you born, what were the genetics, what was the ancestor, stuff and everything. And then what happened when you were growing up, how you were being brought up, were the people around you available emotionally, physically, in whichever way. Was there abuse? Was there a trauma? Was there, whatever there was going on there? Was there a validation? Was there an opportunity for self-expression? Was there an opportunity for authenticity or not? Right? So this is what we're looking at, this Chiron taking, like conjunct being ruled by Mars, is saying like, well, what happened back then that created this wound, like not necessarily the wound was This is two things happening at the same time. Yes, the wound was being created at that moment through the childhood experience, but the original wound, which is being recreated, happened long time ago. Like, this is all energy that is trapped in time that we each come here to work on when we incarnate, reincarnate again and again, again, again. And we say like, okay, let's try to resolve it this time different way, being a different avatar, having a different genetics, having a different perceptions of reality, cultural, philosophical background, whatever, and all these new things, like, yes, obviously humanity moved on, the level of consciousness has risen, there is much more that we know that we did before, whatever, which again is questionable, and again timelines and all that, everything I'm saying is that kind of like truth and not truth because of the quantum, because of the different timelines, because of everything happening simultaneously. So we're trying to look at it from the linear perspective now. So again, whatever happened in the childhood happened in the childhood, but the energy, why it happened, why the energy had to be recreated in order to be once again manifest, so we can see it and work with it and heal it and transmute it, that energy is not new. That energy has been old, like around for thousands of years. Okay, so this is again, we're going back to the Saturn, square in Mercury, square in Jupiter, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is actually trining the sun, because we know that we have the exact trine between Neptune and sun like 3 days later, right? I think that's happening 3 days later. I don't have it in the notes, so that obviously must be happening after that. Yes, on 19th, Tuesday the 19th is the exact trine. Actually, let me see, is it for everyone? No. For some people, it's on Monday the 18th. For me here in Mexico, it's actually on the Monday the 18th. Either way, it doesn't matter. Like the exact trine is already, it's already active, even though it hasn't hit yet the exact degree. Sun is still on 24 degrees. Neptune is on 27. Doesn't matter. 3 days later, it's going to be exact, but it's already valid. And this sun is still in the sign of Scorpio, and this is Cancer Decan, right? Which is again about this identity, about our memories, about our heritage, and it's 1122, Archangel Metatron and Sandophon. So there is definitely a nuance to this. So this is what we transmuting, this is what we healing, this is what we interacting with, and how all of this is connected to Taurus. Because Taurus is the foundation of your life. Whoever you are now, the foundation of that was created when you were a child. With regards to, do I love myself? Do I feel worthy? Do I feel that I'm a good person? Do I feel that, whatever I think and believe about myself was strongly influenced by my childhood, by what happened when I was a kid, by what kind of family I came from, whatever my parents thought about themselves, whatever my grandparents, whatever anybody around me thought about themselves, or how they perceived themselves, or valuable or not valuable. So this is what I mean. This is how everything is connected. Nothing is happening in separation. And of course, Taurus and Scorpio, they are in opposition. They come as a couple. This is all about the projection of our needs onto someone else, and then feeling disempowered. So we know, like, oh, what is it that I actually need? What it is that I value? Or, person mistreating us and stuff. And that's an opportunity for us to realize I deserve better than that. I'm worthy more than that. And again, that brings into question the stories and the ways that we identify situations before, like, for example, through self-sacrifice, I'm always the person that helps everyone, blah, blah, blah. And then why people treat me bad, or, why they don't respect me, or why everybody else gets a pay rise and I don't, when I'm such a good hard worker and stuff. And other people are just, whatever, not doing the job properly, but they get much more validation and stuff like that, right? So this is, again, when we have the opportunity to look at these stories and the way we identify situations, and look at where did they come from? Where did they come from? The South Node in Libra. Again, Venus is bringing our attention to South Node in Libra. Venus is in Capricorn. Saturn is in Pisces. Saturn is square in Mercury. Where did it come from? You know, how did I learn to identify my reality that I'm experiencing at the moment, everything that I'm experiencing at the moment in my individual experience, in my collective experience, on a world stage, whatever, you know, all of it. You know, we're talking about Pisces. There is a totality. We're gonna have a North Node moving into Pisces. Already North Node is conjunct Neptune. You know, we talking about everything that ever happened on this planet and beyond. You know, that's all present now because we're trying to resolve it, we're trying to heal it, we're trying to move beyond it, because Pluto is entering Aquarius 4 days later. Like literally, Pluto is on 29 degrees, 55 minutes. Pluto is entering Aquarius for the final time. Well, from this end, from the sign of Capricorn. Pluto is entering Aquarius for the final time from the sign of our Capricorn in our lifetime, 4 days later. 4 days later. And at this stage, Saturn is direct. So Pluto has only 4 days of Saturn as his ruler being direct for the last 4 days of his transit through Capricorn in our lifetime, which started in 2008. But obviously this goes beyond just 2008, because this is like 2008 when things started moving, but all these energies again that we are interacting with, these are not new energies, these are old energies. They are as old as thousands and thousands of years, going back to Atlantis and whatever, even beyond that, who knows. So anyway, so what we're looking at here, this Pluto actually Pluto is trining this moon. Pluto is trining this moon. There's going to be an exact sextile between Sun and Pluto the following week. Let me see. Do I have it written down somewhere here? Yes, 21st of November. 21st of November, we're going to have an exact sextile between Sun and Pluto. So technically, 5-degree orb, whatever, still count it. And but the important thing is Pluto is trining the moon. The moon that is closing to Uranus, because we know Pluto is still trining Uranus, even though the exact trine is not happening just yet, but it is happening. It's going to happen when Pluto is in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, 2026. But it's already within the degree, So Pluto is supporting this process. It's saying like, yes, we are going through all these experiences, all these stories are coming up through all these experiences we have in, and this is either through our like personal experience, which I can definitely attest that's happening for me. And I mean, this moon is conjuncting my North Node, my Mars opposing my Saturn, squaring my Jupiter, it's just my chart is on fire through this Scorpio season. So anyway, this is personal experience share, but what I'm trying to say is that all these things, because we are in a Scorpio season, by this point Sun is on what? Cancer Decan, right? So this is all helping us to build this sense of self, this sense of self, part of which is, what am I worth? What do I want? What do I value? How do I see myself in this world that I'm interacting with, or not seeing myself, depending, because we have some in conjunction. What in conjunction do we have? I'm pretty sure I saw some in conjunction. I'll look at it in a moment. Anyway, so with this Pluto trining this moon, and Pluto is on its final minutes of Capricorn in our lifetime prior to moving into the sign of Aquarius 4 days later, is saying that that's it. Saturn is now direct. Saturn is going direct. It's saying, okay, it's time to start restructuring again. Venus is ruled by Saturn. Venus is in Capricorn. Venus is squaring the nodes. She's the ruler of the South Node, saying that no, we cannot no longer look out there and go by somebody else's blueprint and manuscript and how things were, because how things were is not going to be how things are going to be going forward. I mean, unless you consciously choose it, that, I enjoy this suffering and this victimhood and this reality where I feel not in control and somebody else is in charge, and I feel like a child because somebody else is telling me how to live my life. And then I blame that other person for it because, it's not my fault. It's all these other people's fault. And for as long as I feel that way, I will never feel in charge of my life. I will never feel sovereign and empowered, because there will be always someone else that has a control over my emotions and my reality and what am I experiencing. So this Saturn is squaring Mercury and Jupiter. It's T-square between Mercury and Jupiter, Mercury-Jupiter opposition. And like I said, all these aspects, Saturn square to Mercury, Saturn square to Jupiter, Mercury opposition to Jupiter, are happening 3 times. 3 times the lucky number, right? Because we are reevaluating a lot of stuff. there are a lot of things going on. Like I said, half of these aspects are happening 3 times, also the Pluto Mars opposition, and Mars is already in a sign of Leo. All the exact next oppositions, the first one was between Mars in Cancer, Pluto in Capricorn, which took place on November 3rd when I was traveling. But the further next two that we're going to be experiencing, well, we know the last one is on April 26th, but January 3rd is the second one. This will be between Leo and Aquarius. Leo and Aquarius. So we're balancing the wounded inner child, and also the desire of our heart and desire for authenticity and life of joy and self-actualization and, feeling seen and feeling free to be ourselves, with what is preventing us to be able to embody that, the Aquarius, the trauma, the things that are stuck in time in our subconscious, which are becoming conscious, through all these squares, all these challenges that we are experiencing, again, going back to either in a personal experience or, actually it's happening probably through all the experiences, when things are coming around through interaction with the external environment, Libra, whether that's people, relationships, like what's happening in the world, media, whatever. There are things that are coming up to the surface, stories that we are attached to, old ways of identifying reality, all these covert, subtle things that we are most of the time not aware of because they happen in an autopilot, right? And then maybe somebody points out something to us, like a good friend or someone, or somebody triggers the hell out of us. So we need to sit with it, our wounded ego. And, if we want to dig deep, Scorpio season, and go, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Why do I feel angry? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel threatened? Why do I feel afraid? And then we go all the way back. Okay, what happened to me as a child that made me feel this way for the first time? Unsafe to be in this world, feeling betrayed, feeling abandoned, feeling that, well, I cannot trust these people out there. I have to create all these layers of protection around myself and stuff like that. Or I create these unhealthy attachments, styles with other people that then I expect them to make me feel safe and secure, and they won't, because this is the Taurus Scorpio opposition. If we externalize too much of our power to someone else so our needs are being met, that person will be removed, whether through their own volition, that they, betray us, abandon us, whatever, or they die, or something will happen, so this is the thing, Scorpio and Pluto, they don't mess around. Uranus doesn't mess around. Neptune doesn't mess around. And we have all of these planets active. I mean, technically Neptune is still trining Mars, even though it is out of sign trine, but it's still happening. And Mars is trining North Node. They have the exact trine is like when? 2 days later? 3 days later? Let me see. Mars trine to North Node. 23rd. 1 week later, 23rd, November 23rd, we have the trine between Mars and North Node becoming exact. Let me see, is it 23rd? Yeah, it's 23rd for most people, apart from Pacific Coast. And maybe mountain zone in America, but everybody else is experiencing on 23rd. So that's what I mean. There is this new direction that we are all creating, that our authentic soul's expression wants to go and explore, that wants to go and experience, but there are all these stories, old identities, and all these things of the past that we are emotionally attached to that are preventing us from doing so. So every time universe offers this something new to us, something that is unknown because we haven't experienced that before, we have the choice. And in most cases, we will choose not to go after it because it's unknown, because it's scary, because it's like, I have no data, I have no manuscript, I have no database, like I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, backwards, let's just the brain straight away will fill in the information. Remember what happened last time, remember what your cousin told you, what your mother told you, what happened to your grandmother, blah 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 blah. Okay, retreat. let's go back to safety zone. Let's just go and keep experiencing the same reality. And then bam, either something will happen, or bam, I decide like, what, my life sucks so bad that I actually have to try something different. Otherwise, I feel like I'm dying inside. So there are all these multiple ways this change will happen, but Venus is squaring the nodes. Saturn is squaring Mercury and Jupiter, three square. So there is a lot of pressure. But because we have all these trines, once again, Pluto is trining this moon. Pluto is trining this moon. Chiron is trining Mercury. So Mercury is getting support, even though it's got a square with Saturn. But this is a closing square, which is about crisis in consciousness, what needs to be released. Just like Venus just had a square with Saturn. Obviously, by this point, Venus is too far, but it's ruled by Saturn. And Venus will have sextile with Saturn later, because obviously she's still not yet in a degree. And Sun is being trined by Neptune. Yes, Sun is being trined by Neptune. We already talked about that. This is all an opportunity. Actually, because Sun, with regards to Sun, Neptune is in the first trine, which is the Leo quality. We are creating, we have the opportunity, every single one of us, to create a different experience. But it is not easy, and it's not supposed to be easy, because if it was easy, why would we even come here? Like, this is a school of life. This is a master class, planet Earth. So if it was easy, then it's just like, I didn't grow nothing because it was easy. I remembered everything. I had everything available. And yeah, why would I even bother coming back? I already know everything, right? Which we do, on a soul level, we do, because we just tap into the source. Source is all there is, so all information is available. However, we had this amnesia, which of course, is getting to the point which doesn't serve us anymore. But this is preventing us from remembering everything, because there is all this stuff that needs to be healed and resolved, and we need to play the role that we play in order to embody these things, wounds, trauma, whatever, in order for us to see, okay, oh yes, this is what we're dealing with, and we can make a different choice. We can make a different choice by looking at the situation differently and change the story around it. So the reality, Capricorn, that is created based on the belief systems that we have can be different, can change, because we understand the meaning that, oh yeah, everything that took place before, all the versions of myself that I was, and all the previous incarnations I had, led me to this point. And they were all necessary, because otherwise I wouldn't be who I am right now, right? And you better, there's a incorrect way of putting it, but okay, I focus this on myself, because I'm not telling other people what to do. I better love and accept myself for who I am right now, because for all the sacrifices that I had to make, whether this incarnation, previous incarnation, all my ancestors, everyone that created who I am right now and made for me to exist, make it possible for me to exist. I better love myself unconditionally and accept myself and everything that came before me that created the possibility of me existing in this body as a soul incarnate, because, it's a miracle, right? So this is where we go back to Taurus, and this moon closing to Uranus, moon in Taurus on Capricorn decan, Saturn being direct in Pisces and Venus being in Capricorn, in a Capricornian decan still. There is an opportunity to heal the past, to cut the cords, to allow the past to rest in peace, to release it, to release all this that was, in order for us to liberate ourselves from this 10 of wands, 10 of swords, all these things that we carry, and to be able to start anew, like this Mars that is still trining Neptune and is trining North Node. Mars in the sign of Leo, that is saying we have the opportunity to rewrite your own life while you're in it. You don't have to die and be reborn with a new script and go like, oh, okay, let me try again. But I know I'm going to forget most of the things. So I don't know, I'll have to go through it again to remember. No, we are already awakening. We are already remembering now. You don't have to die and come back. We just all need to become conscious of the things that are preventing us from changing the pattern. And this is what these planets are helping us to do. You know, Venus squaring the nodes, Saturn squaring Mercury and Jupiter. Is there any other square? Let's have a look. Not that I can see, but let me just check the chart on my phone because I can't see it here, but I'm pretty sure there was some in conjunction. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I'm pretty sure there was an in conjunction there somewhere. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, of course. Venus, Mars. Of course there is an in conjunction. Venus and Mars. Look at that. Almost exact in conjunction between Venus and Mars, 1 degree off. We can't see. We just can't see because Venus is squaring the nodes pointing to the south node, and Venus is in Capricorn decan and Saturn is in Pisces. All we see is the past. We don't see the future, you know, even though Mars is trining the north node, but the future is unknown. We don't see it because we've not experienced it, because it doesn't yet exist. It hasn't manifested yet. It's not crystallized, even though we have a memory of what it might look like, you know, Atlantis and this ancient civilization. And this is like scares the crap out of some of us because it's like, oh no, not history repeating itself again, you know, but we don't know for sure. So yeah, so this Mars that is supported by Neptune, you know, this upcoming ruler of the North Node, this all there is, the spirit, the source, the opportunity to reconnect with our higher self. And once again, let's remember, during the time of the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, Mars was in a sign of Pisces, okay? So we know that this new direction is in co-creation with the spirit, with the higher self, with embodying who we really are while being in a physical form, Taurus, right? This is what's creating this new foundation. But in order for that, the old foundation has to go, because the old foundation is based on this past and the other, you know, which was needed. It was necessary. We needed all this mirroring and projection and reflection and everything. We needed that to realize, to see ourselves, to realize I am that I am. And I decide what that is, right? But we can't see it. We can't see it. It's not yet manifested. We can't see it because we have to create it. We are creating it as we speak. But in order for that, we need to balance the past, you know, the opposition, also Mercury-Jupiter opposition. What are the belief systems that are keeping us stuck in the past? Because that's all we know. And it is not easy to go and jump into quantum field and pull out all these things and say like, oh yeah, I believe it because I believe it when I see it, right? But I don't see it yet. So I don't believe it because the brain is going to go, you see, I told you. Let's just go back to the past. Let's go back to how things were. Let's just go back into the safety zone because that helped us to survive, Taurus. It helped us to survive all this time. It helped us to survive, right? But that's not good enough anymore because Pluto is moving into Aquarius 4 days later. And Uranus is going to move into Gemini, and Neptune is going to move into Aries, and Saturn is going to move into Aries next year, and then fully 2026. And we also will have nodes in Leo in Aquarius, and North Node is going to conjunct Pluto. From 2026, the conjunction, I believe, is in 2027. So that's it, you know, that's it. Like, you know, we have a choice, but we don't have a choice. We have a choice how this is going to play out, but we don't have a choice with regards to it is happening. We're going forward. And yeah, and this sounds easier said than done because it's like, well, but I'm overwhelmed. You know, everyone is going through something. Like I'm going through something. Everyone is going through something. The whole world is going through something, and it's a lot. It's a lot because it's Pisces. It's flooding. It's flooding of everything that is unresolved and stuck in the past. But we know that we are on an accelerated path of evolution. It doesn't have to be hard, and these things can be transmuted very quickly. We don't have to go through million lifetimes as before, multiple lifetimes to try to learn the same lesson and to try to heal the same pattern. It's all happening right here and now. Like we know how quickly manifestation is happening, like how it's technically becoming an instant manifestation, you know, or even karma. I do something bad and oh shit, you know, it's happening to me next day or 2 days later or whatever. You know, we don't have to go through a whole lifetime and be reborn to experience the opposite side of the story. We have the opportunity to balance the scales here and now. Is there anything on Libra Deacon? Yes, Jupiter. because Jupiter is back, because I'm feeling Libra. And of course, South Node in Libra squared by Venus. Yeah, balancing the scales, balancing how things were with how things are going, but the future is unknown. There is an inconjunction. You see, the system is not picking it up on these charts, because this is obviously free software. But yeah, we can't see because we need to believe it, and we need to pull it from the invisible realm into visible realm for it to exist, because it's all this unlimited potential that is not yet manifested, that is waiting to be manifested, but we need to believe it. We need to believe it, and it's not easy because all we know is what already was, and what already was is not going to be part of where we go in, because it's Pisces. It served its purpose. It's the end of the cycle. We cannot stay in the first grade forever. It is not possible. It is not possible. There is a time when we have to move on to the second grade and further. And eventually we're going to master everything, right? Which is the Capricorn. So anyway, let me see if I have anything else that I should be talking about here. In conjunction, opposition, square, Saturn trine to North Node. Yeah, this is on the 22nd. Oh, yes. And the Saturn trine to Mars, sorry, do excuse me. Mars trine to North Node, which, like I said, for some folks is already happening on November 22nd, 2211. That is also happening 3 times. The Mars trine to North Node is also happening 3 times. The second time will be on January 5th, and the final time will be on April 11th, which, of course, North Node will be in Pisces, So yeah, for the second time, Mars will still be the rule of the North Nodes. The final time, Neptune will be. But Neptune will be ruled by Mars because it will be in the sign of Aries. So okay, we got Venus square in opposition squares, Chiron tried to Mercury. Okay, I covered everything. And Chiron sextile to Jupiter. That's pretty much exact still, but the exact was on November 2nd. Where is it? Here, Chiron sextile to Jupiter. And this is the first sextile, which is Taurus flavor. And they both retrograde, taking us inwards to create this new foundation from inside out. So technically, the story of this chart with the illumination we are experiencing since the story that got birth in May this year, which was all about Taurus and Aries, and this new story being created, new story of us being created, Mars in a new phase with Saturn and Neptune, and Pluto trining all of this, right? And Pluto square in Venus. First quarter square, crisis in action, something has to change. Our relationship towards ourselves has to change. The Chiron in opposition with South Node, ruled by Venus, same thing. You are not your wound, you are not your past. This is all that we embodied in order to move this energy. But it doesn't invalidate how we are experiencing that energy, because we still have in human experience, we're going through the motion, emotion, we're going through all of it. So we need to feel the feels. We need to allow the emotion to be expressed so it can flood through, so it can, like a river, it can go through us. So it's no longer stuck, it's no longer trapped, it can be released, it can connect back to the source, just like it's a river, somewhere at some point the river merges with whatever is the bigger body of water, ocean or sea or whatever. So this is what I feel. So, on the new moon in Taurus, all of this got concepted that, new direction with regards to our relationship to ourselves, that is no longer built on what other people think, what are other people saying, what are other people doing, what is everybody else doing, because Pluto was in Aquarius retrograde, which said, no, this is about you to decide for yourself. It is about individuation. It is about authenticity. Nobody else can tell you what is your authentic expression. Only you know. Nobody knows what is your favorite color, music, food, anything. Only you know, because there is something inside you that tells you this is my preference, which keep changing the same way as you keep changing, growing, evolving. That keeps changing with you, right? It keeps growing and evolving. So, like I said, by the time we have the next new moon in Taurus, we can see there's a lot of Pisces, a lot of culmination, because we started the cycle where we said like, yeah, there are things that have to change, right? Things that have to be adjusted. Now we are illuminating what is it that has to change. And we know this is all about Taurus. This is about my relationship to myself, because everything in my life, everything in your life comes from there. What do I believe, think about myself? How do I feel about myself? How do I value myself? And then everything in this life, everything in my reality, everything in your reality, everything in everybody's reality is based on that. Like all our belief system, everything is being tampered, is colored by that. So that's why this is an illumination that is saying that, okay, well, we're going to have these triple aspects amongst multiple planets because of the retrogrades. There are still a lot of retrogrades. Mercury is preparing for retrograde in Sagittarius, in opposition with the Jupiter retrograde, and this is all an opportunity to change that story. But we need to become conscious of what are all the thoughts that created that story and the emotions trapped behind it, which takes you back to Leo. What happened when you were growing up that created this coping mechanism, trauma response, attachment style, with regards to relational patterns, South Node in Libra still. And all of this can change. Everything that we are experiencing in our life can change. It all can change. It's all mutable. It all can change, right? Jupiter is in mutable sign. Mercury is in mutable sign. Saturn and Neptune are in mutable signs, right? All of this can change. But what is fixed, what is like guaranteed is that our relationship to us has to change first, because this is the foundation. So this full moon in Taurus is illuminating to us, like what have I learned in the past 5 months, with Saturn retrograde in Pisces? What have I learned about my life, about my reality, about the world I'm experiencing at the moment, which no longer resonates, which no longer holds a meaning? And why did I ever believe that this is the best I could experience? This is the best I could do. That me as a divine being incarnate coming onto this planet, being put into this body, which is a pure miracle, this is the best I can do. This is the best I can experience. This is the best I can have. But at the same time, holding a compassion for myself and all the version of myself and all the experiences I had to go through that I chose, either willingly or unwillingly, depending on the soul contract, like, yeah, the soul would have decided something, but then, like, oh yes, things happen to us in life, which we don't feel like I've chosen that. I didn't choose this abuse. I didn't choose that, and both are true. On a human level, I didn't choose that. On a soul level, I did, but both are valid, so this is where nothing is black and white. Nothing is just linear, because there are all these multiple factors that are in play at the same time. But all that said, once again, why would I believe that this is the best I can have? If I'm a divine being, if I'm an extension of the source, if I'm unlimited potential, and all this unlimited potential of universe is to my disposal waiting to be manifest, why this would be all I can experience? This limited experience I'm having right now, if this is what you're experiencing, and how can I change it? And this is not easy, because we are processing thousands of years of conditioning, with this Pisces energy we've got at play here. So there is a lot to unpack. And all of this is becoming, well, not all of it, obviously, there's just so much we can process at one time, but a lot of it is becoming illuminated at a very rapid pace. And it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel very overwhelming because everything is happening very quickly. And with this Pluto on 29 degrees, it's like, well, we don't have no more time to waste. Sorry, it's all coming up. It's all coming up, it's all flooding through, because Pluto is moving into Aquarius 4 days later. And that's it, for the next 24 to 43, 19 years. Because Pluto will ingress into Pisces for the first time in 2043. So yeah, ready or not, we either jump or be pushed, right? So that's why everything is coming up. And that's why it feels like it's a lot. And with the sun being on Cancer decan of Scorpio, this is building a new sense of who we want to be, who we were, how did we get to where we are now, but who we want to become next, which is whatever you want. But again, do I believe it? And do I feel I deserve it? Do I think I can have it? And this is what's being challenged right now. And with the Venus square to the nodes, where what I believe, think, and perceive at the moment, where did it come from? Where did it come from? And do I still resonate with that? Because these are just stories. I can change them at any time, you know? So anyway, guys, there is so many deep layers that we can go further deep into, but I think this is where I'm going to leave it. It's interesting that Black Moon Lilith is on 0 degrees of Scorpio. 0 degrees, the unlimited potential, you know? And it's interesting because I was pulling cards for myself yesterday from this interesting deck called Magic of You, which is also about shadow work. And technically what I was being given for myself was that, you know, you are a witch, you stepping into your witchhood, whatever. But the supporting card to that was you have to dive into your shadow, right? And this is the Lilith, right? We all want to be these goddesses and divine beings with all this power and, you know, access to everything. But we don't want to look at the shadow, you know, we don't want to look at all these aspects of ourselves that we don't like, and that we think that, oh, this is not divine, this is not light, this is not this is not that. But we are all everything, right? There are aspects of humanity that we don't like and don't agree with, or other people that we judge or don't like, that live within us. And this is the opportunity with the Taurus thing to accept all of me, all of me. Like, yes, you know, I can be this high vibrational, high frequency, compassionate, loving being, but at the same time, I can be selfish and angry and judgmental and whatever, you know, and it's all part of who I am in this incarnation. So, you know, it's not like, oh, yeah, I just like this aspect of me, but I don't like that aspect of me. So let's just pretend that that's not me and let's project it on someone else and make it their problem and their fault. So it's interesting with the Black Moon Lilith on 0 degrees, right? 0 degrees, which is square in Pluto. 0 degrees. And sextile in Venus. 0 degrees is unlimited potential, is a void. And it's in Scorpio, which is the power. And it's ruled by Pluto, still on 29 degrees Capricorn and Saturn. All the wisdom of everything, you know, Pisces. All the wisdom and potential of the universe live within you, live within each and every single one of us. It's all available to us, especially now more than ever before. It's to our disposal because of the level of consciousness that the humanity has at the moment and the opportunity to tap into whatever we want. You know, it is available to us. So whether I believe I can have it or I can't have it depends on my relationship to myself. Do I feel worthy of it? Do I feel I deserve it? Do I feel I can do it? Or no, this is not available to me, it's just available to someone else. And then look at the shadow. What aspect of me believes that and why? Like, what aspect of me had to become what it is to keep me safe and protected to survive, right? So yeah, so this Black Moon it just attracted my attention last minute. So many layers, guys, because we really are not becoming, because we already are, but becoming more aware of our multidimensionality. And, you know, when we interacting with these energies, nothing is just linear, nothing is just black and white, nothing is just one thing. It's all of it, and all of it is valid at the same time. And it's a lot. It's a lot because we are going through this transmutation of our DNA, where where we are able to absorb more and more light and, you know, connect with more and more light. But it takes time, you know, this is all this 3D, you know, so it takes time. The body takes time to adjust to this energy, you know, that it takes time. Is the Taurus, right? It takes time. So it's also about that you know, patience and compassion for oneself, because then we can extend it to another. But anyway, yes, how much do I accept who I am? Because whether I, if I do or I don't, that's going to determine how I feel empowered, or how much of my power am I externalizing to the outer world, which then might or might not use it against me, right? So anyway, guys, I think this is enough. Obviously, I will be recording my collaboration with Adrian later on next week, so stay tuned for that. And also me and Marissa, my sources, stars and cards, we're going to do another IG live, which we are planning to do exactly on a full moon in Taurus. So you can join us on Instagram for that. And yeah, we're going to tap deeper into these energies. And like I said, I am going to now hop off, and I'm going to record the second part of this video on my phone because the quality is better, so you can see the cards, and I'm going to pull cards that are going to give us further guidance with regards to this full moon in Taurus energy. So thank you everyone for listening. If you're in just for the astrology, and if you're still listening, thank you for your time. And if you are interested in the card pulls, then join me for the next video. So until then, bye everyone, and much love.